Welcome back now. CEFE International and the Namibia Investment and Finance Academy, NIFA, will be hosting an SME Capacity Building two-day workshop, which will be starting today, the 29th of September, till tomorrow, the 30th of September, in the Kavango West Region. Now, to enlighten us more, I'm joined on the line, that is by the CEO and founder of the Namibia Investment and Finance Academy. Good morning, sir, and thank you so much for making time to speak to us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Mr. Okafor, talk to us briefly about the overview of what will be happening in this two-day workshop that will be taking place in the Kavango West region.
Thank you for the question. So today's two-day workshop is part of a national series that has been happening over the last 3-4 weeks, where we'll be in each and every region. So this morning is day one, and it's really going to be covering entrepreneurial mindset, and then followed by a business model canvas, which is essentially a one-page business plan that really then breaks down, the key essence of one's business. And that will be followed by pitching, because as many of us know, sometimes you'll find yourself either in a taxi or in an elevator with an important decision maker. And at most times, you only have 30 seconds to 1 minute to tell someone about your business. So we're going to be prepping the entrepreneurs to be able to sell themselves and their business in 1 minute or so. Later on this afternoon, we will be having some stakeholders, such as your BIPA or NAMRA or NCCI, who will come in and then share the practical essence of their businesses or of their institutions and how SMEs can plug in. And then the day will end off with AI, where we will teach SMEs, the practical use cases of be it ChatGPT or other AI tools that can help enhance their business efficiency. Tomorrow, which is day two, focuses specifically on financial governance, where they're going to be taken through the practical sort of realities of managing one's business from an accounting and bookkeeping point of view. Because as many of us know, we all struggle with bookkeeping, but that is really what then holds us back in terms of finance. And then the day ends with a concept or a topic on financial access to finance, where our partner banks would then come in and then speak directly to what do we as SMEs need to do to access the financial products. So that in a nutshell, 2 days.
No, thank you so much. Now, some might be asking, will this initiative ensure that these Namibian enterprises are market ready, especially amongst the youth and the women?
No, great question. And I would also say what a time to be Namibian, where I think 70% of our population is youth, and a lot of those early stage businesses are youth and women led. So if you really take back to the first question you asked me, what is that market readiness? So at times it really starts with the mindset. And I think that's why all of the workshops, day one focuses specifically on having an entrepreneurial mindset. And essentially what makes us market ready is preparing for what investors or funders look out for. And that's why there's a very intentional focus on business model, pitching, and ultimately financial governance, because we feel those are the key tools that make one market ready and enhance our credibility to a funder.
Now, we understand that this initiative seeks to deliver targeted training and capacity building for SMEs and FSPs. How will this be achieved over the 2 days? Do you think that the 2 days are adequate enough?
Well, maybe to provide some color or context to that is, so for 6 weeks, I think we started second week of September, we are covering MSMEs first. That's 2 days in each region for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. And we feel that is enough to set the right foundation. For FSPs, which in simple terms is your financial service providers, we will be having a targeted workshop with them around the middle to the third week of October. And they will be separate from your MSMEs, but it's very unique in the sense that we will be capacitating or engaging with your various banks, micro-lenders, fintechs, where we're going to share with them the realities of the MSMEs on the ground and work with them to sort of ideate in terms of how the existing financial products, whether they speak to the MSME reality on the ground. So to really answer your question, I think 2 days per workshop is sufficient. Obviously, we can do more, and I think there will be more targeted interventions following these workshops, but we feel on balance, it's enough to have a practical conversation and allow us then to sort of hit the nail on the head.
Okay. Now, we understand that the selected SMEs participants will also gain access to the Bloomberg Finance fundamentals training, enhancing their understanding of market investments, investment principles, and financial analysis. Why is this important in the context of this, space that you are, allowing them to access?
No, thank you so much for the question. I think we speak a lot about financial literacy. And if you think about it, whether you're an individual, sole trader, or a business, I think financial literacy is also what makes or breaks your business. And what is that financial literacy? It's the basics, savings, budgeting. When you make profits, where do you keep that extra money that your business has made so that it can grow? And through a very strategic partnership between NIFA, NTC, and NUST, we now have a global terminal that sits at the university. And on that terminal, it provides access to globally accredited financial certifications, which the top 5 of each SME in each region would then have access to that. And why that's important, to answer your question directly, is on that certification, SMEs will learn what are the basics of economic indicators like inflation or GDP, interest rates, which all shape our daily lives, and also teaches them the basics of what is a government bond, what is a share, which are tools where most of us put our money in, like, for example, in unit trusts. So it really just bridges the gap between, obviously, theory and practice.
Now let's talk about some of the current realities of SMEs in Namibia. What are they facing? Are they struggling with startups? Is there access to adequate capital when wanting to start a business? What are some of the realities that you find out in terms of the workshops that you have held so far? Because obviously you are continuing with this workshop that is Kavango West. What are some of the learnings that you've gotten from the other regions where you had already trainings?
I think the first thing I want to say right off the bat before you dive into the challenges or the realities is that many MSMEs are willing. I think they are hungry. But the reality is that a lot of us operate informally. We struggle with access to markets, which is really where do we showcase our goods? And a lot of us then focus with the elephant in the room in terms of securing access to finance. So as you know, I think there are a lot of initiatives out there. And quite recently, I believe government has now launched the National Youth Fund, which is a fantastic initiative. But I think really to your question is a lot of SMEs are informal, which means they're not registered. And, the cost of registration or the compliance thereof is quite tough. But without us formalizing, which is even just having some sort of, formal business registration, it inhibits us from being able to access a lot of financing mechanisms out there. And then to the earlier question, because we're informal, we don't necessarily record, even at the basic level, how much do we make per month and how much do we spend per month. And that are some of the key challenges that sort of hold us back from accessing some of the market finance products out there.
Now, how and in which way can SMEs come up with strategies for building a more resilient and investment-ready enterprise?
No, thank you for that question. I think the first thing and most simple answer I would give is documenting our strategy or our growth plans, understanding just the basics of finance. So I'm not an accountant, by profession, but we all learn. So at times, sometimes outsourcing that, to a bookkeeper, it will make the world of difference. Once you can account for what your business makes and what it spends. And I think the one or two things I want to mention and add to that, which will help us prepare to be more resilient and have sort of investment-ready businesses, is knowing your customer. I think that saying of the customer is always right. I think it's even more important when you're a small SME because you're not yet well known. How you treat your customer is the livelihood of your business. And last but not least, partnerships. We sometimes want to do things alone, and I really want to, at least with the little time I have, give a very, simple example. If I have a car wash or I have a small restaurant, sometimes doing everything alone makes it difficult. You need to leverage, your ecosystem. Have smart partnerships. Where I have a car wash, someone should come in and, offer catering. You know what I'm saying? Who provides you your washing liquid to wash the cars? There are other SMEs who are providing those services. We need to learn to collaborate because I think with the collaboration, it then makes it easier to scale. So I think with those few words, that would be how I see a practical way of building more resilient and investment-ready enterprises.
Talking about business owners and entrepreneurs, how can they then perhaps close the gap between micro, small, and medium enterprises? Because we assume that obviously, although they might be classified in one group, they are not all at the same level.
Yes, no, fantastic question and very practical and relevant. I would have to say, unfortunately, investments or money follows, structure. So growth comes from structure. Side hustles, I believe, I'm very passionate about them in the sense that they teach you, they allow you to wet your feet, right, before you become like a structured business. So this workshop really helps people to understand the importance of formalizing your business, improving record keeping even at a basic level, separating your personal business from your business account. I think that really is one of probably the key tools to closing the gap. And then whether it's adding customers or hiring staff, I think all of that will not come if you do not have structure. But I think the key takeaway in terms of closing that gap, we need to separate our personal account from our business account. I think that really will make a difference.
Now, as MSCs, we know that they are the backbone of our economy. What will entrepreneurs learn and take away from these 2 days, perhaps to try and implement, and perhaps maybe linking it to the national skills competition, TVET skills that we just had that concluded over the weekend?
No, absolutely. I think what ties, and maybe one of the lessons we've learned also giving these trainings is you'll be very surprised that some of the SMEs we've had, some have had as little as 6 months to 1 year business experience, and some have had experience over 7 years. But because we've structured the workshops to be very practical, entrepreneurship mindset is consistent across the board. You need it, right? And when you tie that back to our vocational sector, and I followed closely the National Skills exhibition, when you look at where our economy is, vocational, the vocational sector plays a very important role in where Namibia is and where we are going. And you look at the emerging industries that have come up, be it oil and gas, renewable, green hydrogen, they all fall back on one thing. It's technical skills and your vocational. And if you look at it, especially when you look at your artisans, your boiler makers, and so forth, these are people who are already in business. Your plumber, your refrigerator fixer, etc., etc. All of these are relevant businesses. And we've actually come across quite a number of them during the workshops that we've already had across the country. And it comes back again to the same thing I mentioned earlier. Entrepreneurship mindset. How do you pitch? How do you sell your business to a potential investor or a funder? How do you formalize? So these are essentially the key tools that form the backbone of any economy, which is your SMEs, but obviously, as you say, your vocational sector then plays a significant role. Because when you look at our structure of our economy, more than 57 to 60% are in the informal sector. So that remains a very critical focus area to address.
Now, how can interested candidates apply for this participation in both, whether they are formal and informal businesses, including startup and growth stage enterprises in terms of this workshop? Is there still an opportunity for them to participate?
Yes. No, there's still an opportunity. So we've already touched about 7 regions so far, being Khomas, Irongo, Omaheke, Oshikoto, Kavango East, and we've also done with Zambezi. So we'll be now starting the northern leg of the workshops following today, which is obviously today's in Kurenkuru. So the northern leg is going to start from the first week of October for the next 2 weeks, and then we're going to end in the south. So in terms of being part of it, and the good thing I want to say, it does not discriminate even if you're a startup or you're an established business, because the workshops are structured in a practical manner. So there are already live links out on our Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, where people are free to apply. However, because of the capacity, we are only limited to maximum 30 to 35 MSME participants per workshop, per region. But we have active links daily, and in some of the regions we are working directly through the governor's offices. So whoever's interested, you just need to go to your regional council, your governor's offices. We've already shared that information as well with them.
Mr. Okafor, thank you so much for making time to speak to us this morning, and we wish you all the best with this 2-day workshop that is starting today, that's in Kurenkure, Kavango West Region.
No, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and have a fantastic day ahead.